SpaceX buying Cursor feels random at first, but once you look at Grok, xAI, Starlink, X, Tesla, and Colossus, it starts to look less random and more like a strategy. SpaceX builds rockets. Cursor helps developers build software. One launches metal into orbit, the other sits inside the codebase, understands the project, edits files, fixes errors, and helps turn an idea into working software faster. But that is exactly why this story matters. Because the SpaceX Cursor deal is not really about rockets buying code. It is about Elon Musk trying to build something much bigger. An AI empire where the same stack touches software, satellites, social media, robots, cars, brain computer interfaces, and maybe eventually computing infrastructure in space. The acquisition news is real. SpaceX has filed a merger agreement to acquire Anysphere, the company behind Cursor, in a stock deal that values Cursor at $60 billion. But the deal has not fully closed yet. It still depends on closing conditions and regulatory approvals, and SpaceX says it expects the deal to close in the third quarter of 2026. And this is not happening in isolation. SpaceX has already merged with xAI, and xAI had already brought X into its AI business. So SpaceX is no longer just the rocket company sitting next to Musk's AI empire. It is slowly becoming the center of it. Tesla and Neuralink are still separate companies, but the direction is clear. More of Musk's AI, compute, software, and distribution power is being pulled closer to SpaceX. Cursor is not just another AI startup. Cursor is one of the companies that made AI coding feel real for a lot of developers. Not in the old autocomplete way, where the tool suggests a few lines and everyone politely pretends that was revolutionary. Cursor became important because it lives directly inside the developer workflow. It understands the codebase, edits files, answers questions, helps debug, and increasingly behaves less like a typing assistant and more like a junior engineer who works extremely fast and occasionally needs adult supervision. And that is the valuable part. In AI, everyone talks about models, but the money is often made in workflows. OpenAI wants developers using Codex. Anthropic wants developers using Claude Code. Google wants Gemini inside the cloud. And now Musk wants Grok to stop being just the chatbot people summon on X and start becoming a serious tool people use to build things. That is where Cursor becomes interesting. xAI already has Grok. SpaceX has scale, investor backing, and the infrastructure. Starlink gives SpaceX a massive network. X gives Musk distribution. Colossus gives xAI compute. And recently, that compute stopped being just an internal advantage. Anthropic agreed to pay xAI $1.25 billion per month for compute capacity at the Colossus 1 data center in Memphis through May 2029 in a deal that could generate more than $40 billion. Google also agreed to pay SpaceX $920 million per month from October 2026 to June 2029 for AI compute capacity, including access to about 110,000 NVIDIA GPUs and related infrastructure. So Musk is not only betting on Grok as a model, he is betting that AI infrastructure itself becomes one of the most valuable layers in the entire race. But what they did not really have was the developer product that engineers actually open every day. Cursor has that. And Cursor had the opposite problem. It had the workflow, it had the developer attention, it had the product momentum, but training frontier level coding models is brutally expensive. You need compute, infrastructure, talent, and enough money to keep burning through all of it while pretending this is completely normal. So this deal is basically two weaknesses shaking hands. Cursor needs compute, xAI needs a stronger coding layer, and that is why the deal makes more sense than it looks at first. The funny part is, SpaceX is not just buying a tool, it is buying access to the place where software is actually created. Every prompt, every code edit, every bug fix, every failed test, every accepted suggestion creates a feedback loop. And in AI coding, feedback loops are gold. For Grok, this could matter a lot. Right now, Grok has visibility through X, subscriptions through X Premium and Super Grok, and its own coding efforts like Grok Build. But competing with Anthropic and OpenAI in coding is not just about releasing a model and saying, look, it writes Python now. Developers are not easy to impress. They test everything. They complain loudly. They abandon tools the moment trust breaks. Cursor gives Musk something Grok cannot instantly manufacture: developer trust and daily usage. But here's the problem. Cursor's strength has also been its flexibility. Developers use it because it can work across different models and workflows. If SpaceX turns Cursor into a Grok-first product too aggressively, some developers may see it less like an independent AI coding tool and more like another piece of the Musk ecosystem. And that is where this gets risky. Because enterprise developers do not just ask, is the model good? They ask, where is my code going? Who controls the data? Can I use Claude? Can I use OpenAI? Can I use my own models? What happens if the owner of the platform decides to change the rules? That is the tension inside this deal. The dream version is simple. SpaceX gives Cursor massive compute. Cursor helps xAI train better coding models. Grok becomes more useful. Developers get faster tools. SpaceX uses AI internally to speed up engineering across rockets, satellites, launch systems, Starlink infrastructure, and maybe one day orbital compute. That is the clean pitch. So the real question is not, why would SpaceX buy Cursor? The real question is, what is SpaceX trying to become? Because if this works, SpaceX is no longer just the company that launches rockets. It becomes a company that controls transport, connectivity, compute, AI models, developer tools, and distribution. This deal tells us where AI is heading. The winners may not just be the companies with the smartest chatbot. They may be the companies that control the most important layers underneath it: the code, the compute, the network, the data, the distribution, and the capital to keep the whole machine running. And that is why a SpaceX company buying a code editor might be one of the clearest signs yet that the AI race is no longer just about intelligence. It is about control.